If you believe Jensen Huang, Sam Altman, and Elon Musk, then you already know that we're destined to inhabit a digital world massively overpopulated with autonomous AI agents. And it's not only the usual suspects who are super bullish on agents. Matthew Prince, the CEO of Cloudflare, recently projected that in 2027, the amount of bot traffic online will exceed the amount of human traffic, which is only next year.
We just think that the use of the internet is going to explode over the next several years, and what is using it is going to change dramatically.
What's funny is that crypto has already lived with this reality for years. It's been the case throughout crypto's history that trading bots, points farming algorithms, and automated smart contracts have at times made up the lion's share of on-chain activity for certain networks, particularly when it comes to transaction counts, which I suppose explains why we've been so quick to take up the on-chain agentic meta and run with it. And it's not that the agentic crypto crossover is not compelling, especially when you consider that it hugely expands crypto's total addressable market beyond a mere billion or so people that might adopt it to a hypothetically infinite number of AI agents that might use crypto rails to pay for all sorts of things, executing trades and arbitrage on behalf of, and maybe even in spite of, their human beneficiaries. It's all very optimistic and even somewhat plausible, but if OpenClaw is supposed to be the fastest adopted open source software in history, then crypto should be in for a similarly fast road to adoption. So, are they here yet? Time to find out. I'm your host, David Canellis, and this is The Breakdown. Let's get to it. This episode is brought to you by Nexo. Step into a new era of digital wealth. Earn interest on your digital assets, borrow against them without selling, and trade, all in one platform. Get started at nexo.com/breakdown.
Nothing said on The Breakdown is a recommendation to buy or sell securities or tokens. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and any views expressed by anyone on the show are opinions, not financial advice. Hosts and guests may hold positions in the company's funds or projects discussed.
OpenClaw is probably the single most important release of software, probably ever.
It's true that the scene is really set for agents to take over our block space. Well, at least the tools are there. And now we have two standout chain-enabled primitives built especially for AI agents. There's the X402 payment standard from Coinbase and supported by Cloudflare via the X402 Foundation, which I suppose spiritually puts X402 in the orbit of Ethereum L2 Base, though related activity has also spread beyond Base into chains like Solana. And now Stripe has debuted its own Machine Payments Protocol, or MPP for short, a general payment standard for agents. Shopify is understandably a launch partner for MPP, which means Shopify merchants can already accept payments from autonomous agents. Stripe's MPP is technically rail agnostic. It supports stablecoins on the custom-built Layer 1 Tempo, typical fiat cards via Stripe, and Bitcoin Lightning support is available in the broader MPP stack. Both X402 and MPP offer a way to send stablecoins over HTTP. But the most important distinction right now lies in the fact that MPP supports fiat out of the box. Today, X402 is centered on on-chain stablecoin payments. Similarly to Stripe, Coinbase also says that X402 is network, token, and currency agnostic, but interestingly states in its GitHub docs that X402 may extend support to fiat-based networks, but will never deprioritize on-chain payments in favor of fiat payments. Of course, many people think that it will be entirely up to the agents themselves to decide which payment rails they'll use. In practice, the rails will often be chosen by agent developers, and even by the constraints of the wallets they opt for, or which payment methods merchants accept, and more generally, the defaults of platforms working to connect agents to different marketplaces. So really the idea is to create the most frictionless payment experience possible for LLMs, so that those rails would be the obvious choice for either developers or the cold legions of logical and motionless on-chain operators we're soon to be trading against. And we already know that fiat rails have been historically ill-suited for micropayments considering the fees, not to mention the hassle of manually approving a long list of tiny payments for various stuff on the internet, even if it meant creators and other data owners could make a living. And that lack of internet-native microtransactions is arguably the root cause, albeit an indirect one, of the subscription model and the broken economics of the online attention economy. Ben Thompson wrote an excellent piece on the subject over a year ago, and in it he actually outlines how agents and stablecoins can fundamentally reshape how the internet works.
What is possible, not probable, but at least possible, is to, in the long run, build an entirely new marketplace for content that results in a new win-win-win equilibrium. First, the protocol layer should have a mechanism for payments via digital currency, i.e. stablecoins. Second, AI providers like ChatGPT should build an auction mechanism that pays out content sources based on the frequency with which they are cited in AI answers. The result would be a new universe of creators who will be incentivized to produce high-quality content that is more likely to be useful to AI, competing in a marketplace a la the open web. Indeed, this would be the new open web, but one that operates at even greater scale than the current web, given the fact that human attention is a scarce resource, while the number of potential agents is infinite.
First, pushing for all manner of companies, merchants, services, and resources to accept micropayments. Stripe has made this easy for its users, which is why so many people are interested to see how Tempo and MPP grow alongside the agentic side of crypto, while Coinbase is doing its own thing by integrating X402 payments into its own merchant-focused platform, Coinbase Business. The second step would then be to push for LLM providers to let users pay for resources consumed by the model at any moment, which, if I'm honest, seems only plausible at scale if that payment was entirely optional. Because on one hand, OpenAI, Anthropic, or whoever else would effectively be conceding that it should have been paying to have its models access online content all along, and on the other, it would technically make using AI more expensive on the end normie user. Step into a new era of digital wealth with Nexo, the premier digital assets wealth platform. Earn interest on your digital assets, borrow against them without selling, trade a wide range of cryptocurrencies, all in one place. Nexo is now available again in the US with an evolved product suite tailored to today's market. For a limited time, new US clients can unlock 30 days of exclusive Wealth Club Premier benefits, including enhanced interest rates, reduced borrowing costs, and up to 0.5% crypto cashback on trades. Get started today at nexo.com/breakdown.
As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
That's not to say there isn't adoption already. Over the past 30 days, X402 Scan reports about 25,000 active agents who have paid for stuff via X402, from around 8,000 active seller agents. Right now, most of that is the result of Virtual's protocol, which is funneling $1 million per month into incentivizing its native agents to generate revenue, including funding a trading competition for AI agents trading on Hyperliquid, which Virtuals is calling Degenerina. That incentives program in particular seems to have boosted the average transaction amounts from around 15 cents, which has so far been indicative that the micropayments thesis might indeed be starting to play out, to over $15 in March, which is perhaps due to the size of the trades being actioned by agents competing in Degenerina, which, if that's the case, only again goes to show how effective incentives programs are at boosting on-chain activity. Stripe's MPP, meanwhile, is seeing much less uptake, but it's still only early days. According to Artemis, in MPP's first 2 weeks, there was about $9,500 in adjusted volume across cumulative buyers and 67 cumulative sellers, with average transaction sizes of between 7 and 77 cents. To help make sense of all of this and discuss where we're headed, I recently caught up with Jordan Liu, co-founder of AI payments AIsa. Here's some of what we spoke about. Today we are chatting all things agentic commerce, and our very special guest is actually building in that space. Jordan Liu, co-founder of AIsa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Davey. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm a founder of AIsa. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, maybe we could, I could probably try to explain what your platform's doing, but maybe you could just give a rundown of what AIsa's doing in the agentic commerce space.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. In a simple way, AIsa is building the capability layer and payment layer for the agentic economy. For instance, if you're running any AI agents right now, like OpenClaw or Cloud Call, you can actually we can enable your agent to access to the AI resources from like large language model tokens, licensed data, API calls, and we embed all the payments, each of the API call into the payment event. So all in in one event. So that's actually what we do.
So I suppose the platform itself is taking a cut of those transactions or something like that. How does that work?
True. Yeah. So from the payment layer, we have, we're supposed to, just like Visa, right? You have this kind of transaction fee. And on top of that, because we also aggregate all the resources an AI agent need to complete a certain task. So there's a take rates on top of that.
Okay, cool. So I suppose a good place to start, like the news this morning, in between the time that I recorded the monologue portion of the show and today, it was only a few days, but then all of a sudden there's been a big, I don't want to call it a shakeup, but there's like a repositioning of the governance of the X402 Foundation to come under the stewardship of the Linux Foundation. And I'll just read through, because originally the X402 Foundation, it was launched by Coinbase, and then they kind of brought Cloudflare into the fold. But then all of a sudden there's the Linux Foundation. Now in the release, there's also Stripe with initial intent and support being expressed by, I mean, it's a long list. There's Adyen,
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services, American Express, ampersand.ai, Base, Circle, Coinbase, Fiserv, Google, KakaoPay, MasterCard, Microsoft, Shopify, Solana Foundation, Stripe, a bunch of others. I wonder your take, because I mean, I think when we chatted a little bit before the show, but you've been building in the space for over a year, so that might have even predated the X402 Foundation. I'm not even sure, but now we're at the other side. So I'm wondering your take on what this means for agentic commerce in general.
We are lucky to be one of the pioneer into the X402 ecosystem, and we are so happy to see the family grow. And we are real actually builder on top of the X402. We were one of the largest X402 builder in terms of top seller and top server. Overall, we have transacted over like 20 million micro transaction. It's all production usage. I can explain more later. So yeah, that's actually we have been building on X402. So if we come back to the agentic commerce perspective, there's definitely a very broad subject, a broad topic, but for we can divide into actually two main category. One, we call it human-centric transaction, the commerce. We're talking about the e-commerce. Like your agent, if you go to ChatGPT, ask them to recommend you to a pair of sneakers, there's like a flight ticket, something like that. That's actually we call human-centric transaction, where usually it's large check size, like $10 for a cup of coffee, $100,000 for flight, right? Then what we see actually the AI native use cases is this kind of agent-centric, AI native transaction. We are talking about one API call for large language model inference token, or API, a data API. So we are talking about this kind of micro transaction, 1 cent, a fraction of a penny. So that's actually we are focused on this kind of a micro transaction initiated by these kind of agents. And I think there are lots of interesting things happening, on these kind of AI native use cases. That's how AIsa and the rest of the the name, actually the brands you mentioned about are all building towards. So that's my take. Yeah.
Let's take a moment to talk about Nexo. Nexo delivers a premier digital assets wealth platform designed to help clients build, manage, and preserve their wealth, earn interest on your digital assets, access crypto-backed credit without selling your holdings, trade with advanced tools, all supported by 24/7 client care. Now back in the US, Nexo offers new clients 30 days of exclusive Wealth Club Premier access. That means enhanced interest rates, reduced borrowing costs, and up to 0.5% crypto cashback on trades. Benefits typically reserved for Wealth Club members and private clients. Nexo is also expanding its global presence, becoming the official crypto partner of Tennis Australia, the organization behind the Australian Open, and the digital asset partner of the Audi Revolut Formula One team. If you're ready to approach digital assets with a more structured wealth strategy, visit nexo.com/breakdown to get started.
Hey all, Blockworks co-founder Michael Ippolito here. Quick break to talk about something we've just launched, Blockworks Investor Relations. As the market shifts toward institutional capital, investors want more transparency, more standardization, and a higher level of professionalism. But the traditional IR model is slow, manual, and not built for how crypto works. If you're building on-chain, your data is already live, your business is already transparent. The challenge is turning that into a clear, credible story for investors. That's exactly what we're solving with Blockworks IR. It's a single platform that brings together real-time analytics, branded investor portals, and hands-on advisory support so you can communicate what matters. If you're an on-chain business looking to level up your investor strategy, check out Blockworks Investor Relations at blockworks.com/investor-relations. All right, back to the episode.
As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
It seems like it's quite a big deal that you do have the Linux Foundation. It's not that the Linux Foundation has been like totally against crypto or chains or anything like that, but it does seem like it's at least moving forward in a quite significant way in the past couple of weeks. And like I'm just wondering, like, if we could go back to like the usage that you're seeing flow through AIsa, because it's funny. Like, crypto has always been trying to bring about adoption. And if you go back 10 years, the whole thing was merchant adoption. And what I find really cool about the AI meta in general is that it's kind of rebooted the whole thing, because on one hand, you need to inspire at least like agent developers to bake the on-chain payments within their own agents. So you're actually trying to inspire developers to adopt X402 and maybe MPPP, but also you have to get merchants themselves to accept stablecoin payments and everything like that. So we're almost back to 2015 when we're trying to get everybody to start using this stuff in commerce. I'm just wondering, like, what you're really seeing in terms of adoption, maybe like at the end of last year compared to now. Has it changed very much?
Yeah, I would say there are a few actually fundamental change in a whole ecosystem. I would say number one, the main compared to even a few months ago, the agent ecosystem itself actually changed, dramatically, right? We see how OpenClaw changed everyone's definition of our agents, right? Even before that, we have to use like ChatGPT or even other like cloud to as a a managed hosted kind of a solution platform to chat. And now with the open cloud, everyone can has their own like self-hosted agent, and they can consistently work with this kind of heartbeat scheme, right? So I think that's one of the biggest change from the agent ecosystem. Another thing I have to say, because we are talking about agentic payments, the payment currency itself, definitely will be the stablecoin. For the agentic transaction. We see starting from Circle, going IPO, everybody saying the real adoption for the real of the stablecoin into the real commerce, the real world, all the adoption of the stablecoin. So I think that's the main, and the infra itself, right? With the many different chains being launched, and the transaction cost per every transfer become cheaper and cheaper. So I think with the infra, with the agent ecosystem itself, now at this time we are talking, when we are discuss the agent payments, is totally different from the world of like even 1 quarter ago, end of last year. So I think that's the main change from what we view.
Yeah, and what I'm curious your take about this, because we're always trying to like classify usage to like try and find what the real usage is. And I mean, I just jumping off the agenda thing, more broadly, like this conversation about meme coins, and I know this is even a year ago that it was relevant, but a lot of it was like, well, yeah, chains are seeing a lot of adoption, but a lot of it is meme coin speculation. And is that even useful? And it's like, well, meme coins are actually kind of like the perfect stress test for these systems. So in lieu of like real quote unquote real trading, it's okay to have pure speculation on meme coins. But then like, because like AI and vibe coding has come around, I no longer really am starting to see a difference between users, like real users, and developer use cases. Because when I look at people discussing the volume on X402, that it's just developers testing things, and it's like, well, actually users are developers now because they can vibe code. And if you're building agentic systems, then you might be a user, but you're a user developer. So like when you're going out and trying to attract people to use AIsa, like how are you viewing that? Are you trying to attract developers, or you're trying to attract users, I guess is a way to frame that.
Right. I think that's a very, very interesting question, because we are talking about one fundamental question here. Actually, who are the agents? Who are actually driving this kind of use cases, right? So first of all, from what we see right now, we see three types of activity, right? The first one is this kind of what we call incentive-driven usage, like Tesla farming, right? Proof of concepts. That's the real activity, but they are not real demands. And secondly, you also mentioned about this kind of experimental usage, right? The developer, wiring agent to pay for API, testing workflow, trying out this kind of X4.2 or similar primitives, right? But the third category, which is the most important one, is the production usage. And that we say from AIsa perspective, actually, that's already happening. And we are seeing agents actually paying resources to complete tasks. Not just moving the tokens, not mention the the stable coin, meme coin, but paying for the models, search API data and services. So I think that's the key distinction, is that the real use case is not just this kind of moving the tokens on on blockchain. It's the agent paying for the resources to get it work done. And our definition of the agents, actually, we have two kinds of agents right now. We have this kind of individual agents like OpenClaw. If you're using any of them, they can directly come to AIsa platform to immediately sign up, get an API key, and access all the resources they need. And same time, we also serve those kind of enterprise agents, the developer driven agents. They can be like a financial research agent, news aggregate agents, like HR agents, language learning, agents. They all come to our platform to access to the resources. So from our, the use cases on our platform, we are targeting the real developer or the developer developed, AI agents. So that's actually what we see right now.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting. And it's like I can only come at this from like trying to understand the economies of scale of this, because if AIsa is focusing on the pure agentic side of it rather than the e-commerce side of it, then they are going to be quite small transactions, like literally microtransactions. Maybe we can end on what you see are the roadblocks to really getting there, because I mean, it is exploding so fast. So it seems like, whatever roadblocks were there a week ago aren't really there anymore. And then obviously we now have a lot of weight behind the X402 Foundation with the Linux Foundation too, which I have to imagine will bring a lot of developers on board too. So it's like, are there any roadblocks here? Because it seems quite open right now. Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, true. First of all, definitely the infra layer. So when we're talking about when agents really, become an economic actor, they can make the micro decision and make the micro purchase, right? If every single API call transaction bring on chain, you think about that might be like millions or even 100 million transaction per second. None of the existing infra block, we're not talking about the centralized kind of payment rail like Visa, MasterCard. They're actually handling like 65,000 transactions per second. And the existing like layer 1, layer 2, the actually maximum, even PayPal, Temple, Solana, they are targeting 100,000 transaction per second. None of them actually the infra, viable for that kind of volume. So I would say that's from the infra, perspective as a bottleneck to facilitate this kind of high frequent micro transaction. And then another layer is definitely how the agents, the framework, the frontier labs can really make the things work for us. The security issue, right? That's another another big topic. Then how capable the runtime, the framework can develop over time to become to make the agents can really do the work for us and do the work for themselves. So I think that's the main two potential bottleneck, right?
Yeah, it's like we might be in for a future where there is also off-chain solutions to these to some of these things as well. But in the meantime, there is still a lot of growth to be had, I guess. But no, this has been great. Thank you so much, Jordan, and we hope to
Pleasure.
bring you back on the breakdown soon. Cool. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much, Davey. Right.
And that's about all the time we have for today. Stay tuned for the full conversation with Jordan later this week, and we'll see you next time.